have them starting now.
A microphone test, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, microphone test. Well, good evening. This is the 6:30 p.m. press conference for the Kincade incident here in Sonoma Lake and Napa counties. I'm Division Chief Jonathan Cox, Public Information Officer with Incident Management Team 6. Just to start things off, like we've done in the past, any cell phones, if you can mute them, please, and take conversations out of the press conference area. And also, we will have a Spanish language version of this press conference at the conclusion of the English language version. Additionally, we will have time for questions and answers with a variety of spokespeople, representatives, and agencies behind me. And I ask that you wait to ask those questions until that time. Beyond that, there is an opportunity for one-on-ones when the press conference concludes. Just to start things off from what has transpired since this morning at 9 o'clock, as many of you know, the repopulation has started in the western portions of Sonoma County. That would be Zone 7 and a portion of Zone 8. The fire is now at 74,324 acres, 74324. We have increased and gained some containment. We're at 15% containment on those 74,000 plus acres. 90,000 structures are still threatened on this fire, and we can confirm that we now have 123 structures that have been destroyed. The damage inspection teams continue to go about their business and get those counts up to 123 structures. Of that, 57 of them are residential homes. The others are either outbuildings or commercial structures. Additionally, we have confirmed 20 structures that have been damaged. 12 of those are residential homes, 7 other structures, and 1 commercial. So 20 damaged, 123 destroyed, and 90,000 still threatened. And finally, just about a half an hour ago, additional evacuation warnings were issued. So at the same time on the western side that we're repopulating, we are also calling for new evacuation warnings on the eastern side into Lake County. This is obviously a result of the change in weather conditions. That is referred to as Zone 31 in western Lake County. It is currently an evacuation warning. With that, I'll hand it over to our National Weather Service representative, Ryan Wahlberg.
Okay, good evening. So once again, the weather did turn somewhat favorable today. We had a little bit more temperate on the winds. The humidities remain incredibly dry. We're at about 9 or 10%, very low for this region. Looking ahead to tomorrow, we are under a red flag warning that goes into effect at 8 a.m. Once again, that's Tuesday morning and runs right through Wednesday afternoon. What that means is tomorrow the firefighters will be out there under red flag conditions. The setup for this event is a little bit different than what we saw this weekend. It is weaker, but nonetheless still very significant, thus the warning. Those northeast winds are going to come in off of Mount St. Helena and Cobb Mountain, move over the fire during the day tomorrow. Wind speeds 20 to 30 miles an hour, and as we get towards the afternoon, we will see some gusts 40 to 50 miles an hour as we head towards sunset. It's important to note that down along the 101 corridor, wind speeds will be lighter, so folks down there may not see those winds, but the strong winds will be up on the fire. So that's during the day Tuesday, and then the most critical period will be Tuesday night when we expect those winds to peak through midnight. Luckily, the winds will start to ease as we head into Wednesday, and we'll be looking forward to that next change in the weather. Thanks.
Speaking next is Fire Behavior Analyst Steve Vollmer.
Good evening. With the southwest winds we had today, it gave the firefighters a little bit of a break with the fire behavior, although as the winds began to shift around, that fire behavior did increase and has caused them some dramatic problems, producing some high fire intensity fire behavior again, as well as some additional medium range spotting. As the winds continue to change and get into that red flag warning northeast flow, it is going to increase that fire behavior to levels that we saw when this fire initially began. When the red flag warning initiates tomorrow, the firefighters will be working in those conditions. We are constantly updating the fire behavior forecast for the location of the fire, as well as for the temperatures and relative humidities that continue to drop in the areas. With those relative humidities dropping, we are still seeing that very receptible fuel bed be able to hold those spot fires, as well as to increase the rates of spread to critical and dangerous rates.
And for an operational update, Incident Commander Mike Blankenheim.
All right, good evening, everybody. So we do not have the big fire run today that we did have yesterday, and you're probably aware of that. However, that doesn't mean we didn't have a lot of active fire behavior today. I think like you heard Stephen talk about, very dry conditions, but we didn't have the wind. So I'll give a quick recap on our actions today and what we're looking at for tomorrow.
Can you turn the mic on?
The green light is on. Is it not working? Can you hold it closer? How about now?
No.
Give it the mic, John.
Yeah, it should be up there.
All right, how about now? Awesome. Okay, so starting over again. So we do not have the fire run today that we had yesterday, but as you heard over there, we did have some very dry conditions, and we did have some very active fire conditions today. So I'll give kind of a quick recap of our actions today, and then what we're looking at for tomorrow. So up here in the Division Alpha, Papa Bravo area, up in Branch 1, up in the Mount St. Helena area, fire burned really actively throughout the afternoon, and we focused our attention with the aircraft up there today with both our large air tankers, and our very large air tankers, and the Type 1 helicopters, which are the big retardant dropping helicopters, doing everything we can to build line up in here to keep this from spreading down into Lake County. Down here in the southeastern part of it there, the fire made a hard run into that Shiloh Ridge area yesterday, and we were fairly successful today going direct on a lot of that fire with dozers, hand crews, and fire engines. However, I don't think we're done building line there, so we're going to continue working on that throughout the night, getting ready for the wind event that was described for tomorrow. The other thing we're doing for tomorrow is working on a pretty robust contingency plan for the communities of Calistoga and Middletown, preparing for that thing to come across the Lake County line if it were to do that.
Thank you, Chief. Are there any questions for the operations? Chief Blankenheim. All right, not hearing any. Next, I'd like to introduce the Sonoma County Sheriff, Sheriff Essick.
Good evening. I'm going to provide a quick briefing on some of the repopulation efforts we have going on throughout the afternoon. Earlier today, we lifted the evacuation order for the West County, what we're calling Zone 7 and Zone 8. By reducing that evacuation order to an evacuation warning, we are permitting people back into the area. They are free to enter the area without identification or any permits. They're free to go home and check on their home. However, there is still a warning in this area, so that means that people should be prepared as they re-enter the area. If the fire were to change or we saw a drastic change in the weather conditions, they could still be subject to danger, and they could be subject to elevation back to an evacuation order. However, at this time, we have weighed the risks with the weather forecast and the fire forecast, and we feel comfortable allowing people back into this area. I want to mention that as people return home to this area, that there are still some hazards out there. We did still have a high wind event, so they may encounter trees down on their roads or near their homes. There may be debris on the road, so we want people to stay vigilant as they're driving back into the area, checking on their properties, checking on their house. If conditions change and we do see an increase in weather or fire activity and we have to go back to an evacuation order, we will have deputies back in those neighborhoods using the high-low siren to evacuate again. However, like I said, we feel confident at this point that we can allow people back in safely and that risk has been mitigated. Lastly, I want to cover some of the patrols that we'll be doing in the evacuation areas. We continue to have hundreds of deputies and peace officers from throughout the state patrolling those areas that have been evacuated to ensure that we don't have any theft or looting. Unfortunately, just a few hours ago, we had an incident in the Geyserville area, south of Cloverdale, where we had a couple of people enter an evacuation zone for no apparent reason. We believe that they were up to a criminal intent and that they were prowling or looking for crimes of opportunity. So we have deputies that were up there. They made an arrest, and we continue to investigate that. That is still an active criminal investigation. So we continue to look at repopulation. We're going to continue to look at it over the next few days as the fire weather forecast changes and wind conditions change. We understand that people really want to get back to their homes, check on their homes. We understand there's a lot of anxiety and some frustration out there, but we ask you please be patient, work with us. Our goal is to get you back in your homes as quickly as possible, and we are working very, very diligently to do so. So thank you for your cooperation and your patience, and we look forward to continuing to serve all of you. Thank you.
Next from the California Highway Patrol, Captain Wolf.
Good evening. I'm Captain Aristotle Wolf with California Highway Patrol. I'm the commander of your local CHP area. The CHP is upstaffed, maximum staffing that we can to help the sheriff department and our other allied agency partners with whatever they need for repopulation, whatever they need for patrol of potential looting, or just general assistance to the public as calls arise. We're coming from all over the Bay Area to assist, but we're also at maximum staffing and extended shifts here in your local area. Just be patient at your closures. We are helping control certain entry points or exclusion points, and we want to make sure that you understand that those are closed for a reason. They're closed for your safety, and that reason may not be immediately apparent to you from where you are, but these folks at CAL FIRE and the folks at the county are looking at the big picture, and they know why they have it closed, and it's for a valid reason. I do want to just warn you as you're driving in that some of these roads have been affected either by the high winds, by power outages, which could affect traffic lights, traffic signals, which you should also read, like four-way stops, and assume that someone coming another direction is not. So be very careful, understand your fatigue, and if you have questions, it's fine to stop and ask an officer, but please do not stop on a freeway control point or any other place where it's unsafe. We will definitely get you answers, but there may be times when the officer cannot get to you immediately. If you can't pull over safely, move on and get the information some other way. Thank you.
Finally, I'd like to introduce from the Sonoma County Board of Supervisors, Supervisor Rabbit.
Thank you very much, and on behalf of all the elected officials here, and especially our esteemed Congressman Mike Thompson, who's been nothing but a hero, thank you. Once again, I want to also thank the first responders who are here in Sonoma County battling this fire, and we all know behind those firefighters are thousands of folks supporting them, caring for and ensuring the safety of the public as the event continues to unfold. What we know here in Sonoma County is that in times of hardship, people always step up. They always have. They are generous with their time, with their money, and with their empathy. And today's partial repopulation is very welcome. It's the first sign, and we are turning the corner. But we all know it's a fluid situation. There is much more work to do before the fire is out, the area is made safe, and everyone can get back to their homes. So we continue to ask for patience as we repopulate communities. Safety is always our number one concern. You know, Sonoma County continues to operate multiple shelters in our neighboring communities of Marin, Napa, Alameda, San Francisco, and Sacramento are also operating shelters for fire evacuees. For that, we are extremely grateful. This county will continue to meet the needs of its residents. And again, Sonoma County is, and will always be a strong, resilient county, and that's because of the folks who live here. For really up-to-date information, please visit socoemergency.org, S-O-C-O emergency.org, and please use 211 for non-emergency questions. Thank you.
Just finally, in conclusion, behind me is a very unified front of agencies, individuals, representatives that are all on the same page, coming together regardless of patch jurisdiction to get this fire 100% contained and controlled. However, we are not out of the woods yet, and we are still somewhat at the mercy of Mother Nature with her variable wind, both offshore and onshore. With that, we ask for continued vigilance from the public, and that means just patience to get re-entered, and also patience should you have to get evacuated as this fire moves in different directions. The best way to do that is to stay informed, and social media from a variety of agencies is what we recommend, as well as early alert warning for the county that you're in. But with that, I'm happy to answer any questions for myself or anybody out there.
Can you tell us the status of the injured firefighter, what the damage is to you?
Yeah, so there's not too much more to release. In stable condition, the investigation is pending.
Compared to 24 hours ago, where are you now? Is there a reason for some more optimism? I know you have winds coming up. It sounds like they may not be as strong as you've had before.
Yeah, that's a great question. The question was, where are we now as opposed to 24 hours ago? What's the sentiment really? Really what we're at is, that cusp of cautious optimism. What we're contending with is that ping pong effect of the wind right now. We just came out of that offshore event. We are now seeing the onshore flow, which is testing our eastern flank. And we are also concerned about the return of that offshore tomorrow, again, testing our western flank. So as the containment goes up, the more confidence grows. But I would say we are not out of the woods yet.
Of the, how many people switched from the mandatory evacuation to the other type of evacuation today for the western part of the county?
So for the repopulation of Zone 7 and partial population of 8, what was the population for that?
Yeah.
I'd have to defer to the sheriff. 30,000 people.
Given the wind event tomorrow, what kind of things do you do for today to prepare? Do you feel like you're able to do enough work today to get a foothold and be at an advantage tomorrow?
Yeah, so from the briefing this morning for the crews that went out for their 24-hour shift, it was in everybody's mind after that briefing that today was that window to really reinforce this western edge, and that includes engine work, dozer work, hose lines, as well as fight the fire on the eastern side, preparing for that switch that's going to happen tomorrow, essentially. And although the fire may not be active in zones that are currently mandatorily evacuated, we have concern that the offshore flow again could test those lines. So the best way to put it is we're playing both offense and defense right now on two different sides of the fire, and we're going to have to flip-flop that tomorrow when that wind event comes through.
Are the winds currently, you expect the winds to continue pushing the fire to the east through the night?
Yeah, so that's, I don't know, the fire behavior analyst would be a better person to answer that one-on-one. We do know it's more of an onshore flow right now, which traditionally sets it up for what we call topographical runs. So the wind conditions offshore push it downhill kind of with the wind. When it's more of an onshore flow, it tends to go uphill in the topography. So that's probably the best way to describe it to you.
If this fire burns into Lake County to the northeast, is it going to enter areas that have burned in recent years? And I'm specifically thinking Middletown.
Yeah, so the question was in regards to if this fire progresses east and continues to progress east, could it burn into areas such as Middletown that were in the Valley Fire a few years ago? We don't have a crystal ball about where this fire will end. However, the evacuation warnings were triggered in that area due to fire behavior. The thing we do know is that wind is going to subside later tomorrow. So there's a lot of effort being concentrated on that eastern flank right now because of the population in that area of Lake County.
What's your expected containment date, and what is the date when you actually expect the fire to stop smoking and burning?
Yeah, again, that's the question was, when is full containment estimated, and when do you think the fire will be completely out and not smoldering? We tentatively believe the fire will be contained November 7th. Again, that is our best estimate based on models and projections. As far as when every smoking stump may be extinguished, that can be weeks, if not months, really just because the amount of fuel that we have in such heavy vegetation.
Can you give us a general idea of what the winds are going to be like throughout the day Tuesday, starting in the morning?
Yeah, that I don't know if the meteorologist is still here. He'd probably be the best person to answer that.
Yeah, again, so on the fire itself, it's going to be a gradual ramp up through the day. So again, not necessarily where people are living or where they're going to feel it, but in terms of the wind speeds to start the day up on the fire, 10 to 20 miles an hour out of the northeast with gusts to 30. And then as we get into the afternoon hours, especially late in the day when it's the warmest, driest period, we expect 30 to 40 miles an hour with some gusts in the 50-mile-an-hour range up where the fire is active right now. Again, that's out of the northeast, so that would be pushing it back into its own footprint.
And compare that to the gusts we saw in the last few days.
Right, so it is distinctly lighter than the weekend event, but I don't want to downplay it. It's similar to the night that it started on Wednesday night. If we didn't have this weekend event to compare it to, we would be very concerned. So I would not downplay the event at all.
And how long do you expect those winds to sustain for through tomorrow?
Till about midnight tomorrow night.
And then, while we have you up there, what does it look like beyond tomorrow night, midnight, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday?
Right, so we do have the red flag warning that stays up till 4 o'clock Wednesday afternoon, and that's just basically for the extremely dry humidities that we're expecting. Beyond that, things look more favorable, relatively speaking. Of course, there's no rain in the forecast, but we will start to get a little bit of non-shore that Jonathan talked about, and we don't see any wind events in the future. So I think after we get through tomorrow's wind event and into Wednesday morning, things look much more favorable from the weather perspective.
All right, yeah.
What are some lessons that were learned 2 years ago that are being implemented now with injuries? That's really good. It speaks volumes to the work that you guys are doing.
Yeah, so I think a couple things that are at play. The question was in relation to what are the lessons learned from a few years ago. I think maybe the biggest thing to recognize is before the fire even started, there were additional resources already in place for an event like this. I think second to that is the decision and the knowledge to evacuate early and evacuate in an area that could have potentially been impacted. We had the luxury of 24 hours ahead of the main wind event coming through, and that was the opportunity for us to get out. But it's not just us. We have had amazing compliance with the public for evacuations, and we cannot be successful without the public. So it's really a team effort. We're a part of that puzzle, but the public is also a crucial part.
Yes, two-part questions. Would you consider today the so-called calm before the storm? And then the second part would be, could you elaborate a little bit more on the types of work that was done today and what was accomplished?
Sure. So the first question was, is this considered the calm before the storm? I definitely think we consider this the window of opportunity before the offshore flow resurfaces. So technically that could be the calm before the storm. In addition to your follow-up question, what specifically was done today? When you have 4,000 firefighters on the line, we have everything going on from bulldozers cutting into the dirt to actually put some perimeter in. We have firefighters with hoses around structures that the fire came close to, putting out hot spots and patrolling. We also have aircraft pre-treating hillsides so that should the fire get to that point in some wind, that it can slow it down. So the best way to maybe describe it is a well-orchestrated effort on the ground, in the sky, all in anticipation of what is anticipated tomorrow.
The wind anticipated tomorrow is strong enough to ground your air attack?
So the question was, is the wind anticipated to be strong enough to ground the air attack? The air attacks and the fixed-wing aircraft, there's two variabilities that really restrict us. One is wind speed, and not because of the airframe and flying conditions, but really because of the permeability of the retardant. Beyond a certain wind speed, that it becomes relatively ineffective. The second is visibility, and visibility can inhibit the pilots from actually seeing what they're dropping on. The thing that I always come back to with aircraft and firefighting, it is a moment-by-moment decision based on the skies, and that is the responsibility of the air attack officer who's above us. All right, we'll go ahead and do one-on-ones. Everyone behind me will be available for questions. Please recognize that the Spanish language version will start in just a few minutes at this podium, and I thank you for your time.